are the champion, the one that holds the line and finishes the mission. Everything that you want is within your grasp. You wake up in the morning ready to dominate the day, and every step taken is with purpose and integrity, because you were not put on this planet to live a mediocre existence. You are here to conquer and make the biggest impact possible, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your tribe. This world is a battlefield, and we will be victorious. This is the Norse Mentality.
What's up, guys? I hope that you are having a glorious damn day. Today, I'm sitting down with the man himself, Dave Hurt. For some reason, this is your first time on the podcast, even though I've been on yours 3 or 4 times.
Unacceptable, dude.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm happy to be here, man.
I'm stoked on it. So you actually live like 40 minutes down the road, which is why it's so surprising to me, and we talk all the time. But Dave is a man of many different skill sets, we'll call them. You're a dad. You're a loyal...
The most important skill set.
The most important skill set, being a dad. But also... you take a lot of pride in being a good husband. Every time I'm around you, you're always talking about how much you admire your wife, which I love because there's been a lot of times when I get around dudes and instead of talking about their partner, they're talking about some hot piece of ass that they saw. Yeah. And I'm always like, that's super fucking disrespectful. But anyways, moving on. You've also owned you started a restaurant chain.
So I didn't start it. I was an early franchisee.
Okay.
I had the North and South Carolina locations.
And that was the Brass Tap, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How long did you do that?
That was from 2015 to 2018.
Okay.
Only 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait
actually, technically 2014 because we built the first location in 2015, but there was a ton of planning up to then. So
how did that opportunity come about?
Man, so I was working in corporate America, just grinding away. I had a buddy who was doing the same, and we always talked about doing something together. And the opportunity came by way of a family member of his who was an early franchisee and suggested it to us. And then we went down there, did what they call Discovery Day, interviewed with the brand and all that. And then obviously they have to check your financials and all of that stuff, and you get approved. And then we decided to do it together.
So you just saw an opportunity. You're like, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, we saw at the time the craft beer craze, and we were both fans of that. And so the Brass Tap is a craft beer bar. And we really, I think we would have done anything at that point because we had both saved up money, worked a ton, and weren't necessarily miserable, but were wanting something more.
Something more fulfilling.
Yeah.
More purpose, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
really
exactly.
Just like apply yourself to something.
Yeah. Once you handle your sort of basic needs and then find out that monetary gain is not where the fulfillment is, you start to question how you can create more value, or at least I did. And so at first it started as create value for myself and my family. But then I think as you evolve as a business owner, it becomes create value for the world and for others.
That's exactly how it happened for me as well. We were talking about this the other day on the podcast, and it actually caused a little bit of confusion, which I can understand why. And I also I forget to put myself in non-business owner's shoes, right? Yeah. Because I've been doing this for 5+ years now, so this is just how I think. But I was trying to explain to everyone that money is not everything, because exactly what you said, once you get to a certain point where all your needs are covered, you realize that it's almost empty.
Yeah, it is.
And it doesn't take a lot. And that's what I want people to understand is that it doesn't take a lot to get those needs met. Do you have a nice house? Not like over the top house, but just a nice house to go home to. Do you have a car that is dependable? Are you able to provide for your family? You're able to buy healthy foods. Are you able to go on vacations and shit like that? But other than that, you don't need a lot of money. And really, once you get to a certain point, you're good. And once you get there, it's like, okay, well, for some reason, especially me and you, because we grew up in very lower income families, we think that it's so important. Everything revolves around money. We have to move the money needle as much as possible, or else our life is shit. But it's not. It doesn't take as much. So then you go, okay, well, I've got all my needs covered. I don't really care about getting all this other shit. And it always comes back to providing value. It always comes back to doing something with meaning and purpose, or else you are a miserable person. And the reason that conversation came up is because someone was pursuing a career in engineering. And they were saying that they just didn't really like it. And then we went on this whole topic of like, well, a lot of people choose jobs just because it's making 6+ figures, but it's not something that they actually want to do. And as a result, they end up working a lifetime of that just because they were chasing money, when their quality of life could have been so much better if they really pursued something that had just more meaning and purpose to them. Not saying that those careers don't, but they only apply to certain people that have a huge interest in that kind of stuff. Otherwise, the main thing I want people to understand, and this is why I'm so happy that you brought it up, is money is important, of course. Money allows you to have opportunity. It allows you to have experiences and stuff like that. But the main thing here is to make sure that you are happy with you as a person and make sure that you're doing something meaningful, because that's what it means to be human, is to provide value to everyone else around you. Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, when you're dead and in the ground, they don't say, here lies Dave. He made $10 million. It's not about that, right? It says loving husband and father, on the headstone. So and this is the mistake I made. So just to put a bow on that, we started, built, and ran that for a few years. We got up to several locations in 2 states, close to 100 staff members, and then we sold the business to private equity. But what I discovered throughout that process was when your only target is monetary gain or just money, something happens when you get there. You're like, oh, now what? And you feel empty. It's like when an athlete devotes their entire life to a sport and they get injured and now they can't play that sport and they feel lost.
Depression through the roof.
Exactly. The most suicidal I've ever been in my life was when on the outside, I had the best life ever.
This is during this time period where you owned Brad's Tap.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Because I was motivated only by status and wealth, and I was determined to be a millionaire on paper before I was 30. That was like the big goal for whatever stupid reason.
I had the same exact goal.
It was probably in large part because I came from such a low income, impoverished upbringing that to me was like, well, if I can say that I'm a millionaire, that's it. I've done it. I broke the cycle. And that's not the case. You get there and then exactly what I just said, you're like, now what? Because when you're shooting just for that, instead of creating value and having a purpose in the world, you feel empty. And that's where I got. And so that's why I talk so much about that stuff on my show and on my social media and everything else. Is like you have to find, yes, take care of your needs and put stability in place, but then try to find a role in the world where you can create value for others. And I think you'll be the most fulfilled.
I think that's absolutely where fulfillment comes from. Someone that's not a business owner, how would you suggest that they find that value and purpose? That's a hard one.
Yeah, it is. But also I think you can experiment with different things, hobbies. I mean, there are all kinds of hobbies you can do that create value for the world and help other people. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do that's not your primary income generator, right? You could get involved with volunteering, or you could, if you're a creative, you could create art of some sort. And I mean, you
could write a book.
You could write a book. Writing. You could write. I mean, you could blog. You could create. I mean, there's social media now where you have a platform to reach millions of people. If you just create something of value, it'll find people if you put it out there. And it doesn't necessarily have to be through owning a business, or, if your job is creating value for people, then there you go. Like, take that seriously and be the best you can at it. And that's, if you are flipping burgers and you do your absolute best and make the best burgers, you're creating value for people.
You're also fulfilled as a human being.
And yes, you will take pride in your work. You'll take pride in the fact that you're the best person at your job, and you are providing, albeit not the best, but providing nourishment for people. And I mean, it could be anything, man. It could be, and I recently had this conversation on my podcast where I was saying the same thing. it actually got me through my corporate gig at several key moments. It's like if you flip it a little bit, instead of saying, oh man, I have to go to work, I have to, me. If you just think about it from the perspective of, so I was in recruiting. I recruited for all kinds of companies in science and technology. And when I looked at it more from the perspective of I'm going to change lives today, I'm going to find a job for someone today, or I'm going to find an employee for someone today, it made all the difference, man. It truly helped me get through the day more. But
it's switching that perspective, though.
yeah,
That's what people don't understand, is that you can switch your perspective at any time. Now, the hardest part of that is having self-awareness. You have to have self-awareness that you're feeling a certain way and that you're thinking you have a negative cycle going on in your head where my life is meaningless, I hate this job, whatever it may be. But if you can catch that, if you can catch yourself saying that and you go, no, that's not true. Like, I have a job, which is amazing because there's a lot of people that don't have jobs.
exactly. Yeah.
I'm able to provide for my family. I'm able to do something. Maybe it's not ideal. Maybe it's not the exact thing that I want to do at this moment, but it's something. And if I try hard enough in this, then I'm going to be building a new character. I'm going to be developing new traits and things like that that will allow me to one day have this ideal opportunity. And that's the thing. If you work hard enough in anything that you do, those opportunities come to you. But the most fulfilled I've ever been, and this is still how it is whenever I'm just running myself into the ground. Now, I know you have to like pump the brakes every once in a while, which it took me years to understand that. But it's whenever, say, we have a lot going on here at Norse. There's a lot of different moving parts to this. And when we're just stacking victories every single day, and I'm only getting 6, 5, sometimes back in the day, 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
But I didn't need sleep because I was so fueled by what I was doing and I could not wait to continue doing it. It wasn't even necessarily having an impact on anyone else at the time, but it was knowing that I was trying my best.
Right.
And in those younger days, when I was 25, 26, when I first started the company, when I was running myself into the ground every day and I loved every second of it, the reason that I loved it was because I was discovering a new side of myself. I was able to be like, okay, I'm doing this. And every part of me wants to give up. It wants to stop. It wants to just be lazy or whatever. But I'm not going to allow that to happen because I have dreams. I have a vision of who I want to become, what I want to build, and I'm going to just keep running myself into the ground to do that. And then over time, this sense of enjoyment that I got from it, where once upon a time it was maybe a chore, where now it was, I loved the pursuit of bettering myself. And I knew that every time that I moved the needle a little bit more, that sense of fulfillment was there. And it wasn't really even impacting anybody else. It was me. So I think that when people, they want to find this purpose and present some sort of value, you can just work on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is your fulfillment. Like, you get fulfillment by working on yourself. That is your purpose in all reality. Like, not even worrying about external purpose, which is good, of course. But if you make your purpose to become the best version of yourself every day, a little bit better, that's all you need.
Well, external purpose exists downstream from internal purpose because you can't create value for others unless you're valuable.
You have to work on yourself first.
Yeah.
And even with say you're a single dude, we see this all the time, both of us, I'm sure. How can I find the right girlfriend? How can I find a wife? Blah, blah.
Dude, it frustrates me to no end.
Don't fucking worry about it. Like, just work on becoming the best version of yourself. That way you can attract this ideal partner for yourself.
If you're a young single man without a wife or a child, or I can run down a laundry list of responsibilities that I have today, there's no reason why you shouldn't be just balls to the wall, exploring every possible way you can better yourself in every aspect of your life. And if you're wasting your time away by sitting around and watching fucking Netflix or going, and drinking with your friends every day and night or whatever these young kids do these days.
Your grandpa ass.
I don't want to hear it when you're my age and you haven't done anything. You are in the period of your life where, look, I wish I had all that time to better myself constantly. And young men today, especially, are squandering that, I think. And it's a shame, man, because one day you'll wake up and you'll be our age and reflect back on all the things you could have done.
Yeah,
I mean, you will do that.
Oh, you absolutely will do that. And I think it's going to get even worse and worse. Luckily, I am happy with what I accomplished in my 20s. Could have been more, like, for sure. But I am happy that at a very young age, I was like, okay, I had goals. I've always had goals.
Yeah.
Even before I knew what a goal was, I had goals. And I think everyone does. But having that at such a young age and always like making another goal for myself, they just continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And as a result, like I developed myself into someone that now that I'm in my 30s, like I'm proud of who I am. Where in my early 20s, I wasn't. I hated who I was. So I started making these goals and I started visualizing who I wanted to become.
What did you hate about yourself? Sorry,
nothing
my,
worth.
my inner podcast host is coming out.
Yeah, no, it wasn't necessarily. I had no real reason to hate myself. Looking back, I had no real reason to hate myself. In all reality, I had a lot of things to be proud of.
Right.
I just didn't know self-love at the time. Like I was probably comparing myself to other people a lot and wishing that I had more without realizing that I already had a lot to be grateful for. Gratitude and self-love was something that I was not aware of until about a year to 2 years ago. It did not exist in my life at all. I was actually talking to a therapist one day about in 2019. I had a therapist for the first time, and I was sitting on her couch, and she said, "Andy, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you love yourself?" And I looked at her, and I said, "I don't know what that means." And right then I was like, "You have a fucking big problem that you need to work on." But I couldn't even wrap my head around what that meant. And then I remember the idea of gratitude really is, I feel like it was just being thrown at me from every angle possible. All I heard was gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And it was the same thing. I had no idea what the fuck that meant, but I had everything I could have possibly wanted. I had the gym, Norse was growing. I had a beautiful little girl at home. I have a nice house. Like there's nothing else I could possibly want, but I had no idea what gratitude meant. I had no idea what self-love meant. Even though I had accomplished all of this shit by the time I was 27 years old, I had no self-love. I wasn't proud of myself for a single fucking thing. And it was realizing that and being like, okay, well, we have some work to do. And it wasn't like flipping a switch. I used to sit there for hours every day repeating, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, over and over and over and over again. I would sit there in meditation and visualize being proud of myself for the first time. I did this every single day. I would sit in meditation for hours. And it wasn't sitting there trying to block out my thoughts. It was sitting there visualizing, like, who do I want to become? Because I'm not happy with who I am right now, even though I should be. So what does that person look like? But going back to like other people in their 20s, or it doesn't matter how old you are. It's deciding what kind of person that you want to become. What are these characteristics that you want to have? And then be, okay, well, how do I do that? And you start taking action towards that. Or in regards to finding a partner, what do I look for in a partner? Okay, you make that list. And then you put yourself in their shoes. What does that person look for? Like, if that person was in front of me, what do I think they would be looking for? And you make a list of that. And then you start doing inventory on yourself. Okay, yeah, I have this trait. I sure as fuck don't have this one. This is not attractive at all. Someone to this quality that I want isn't going to be attracted to that, so I need to start working on it. It's doing that constant inventory on yourself, which is the most terrifying thing in the world, because you have to realize, I suck. I'm fucked up and I'm not nearly as cool as I thought that I was.
Yep. Yeah, man. It's the most important thing though, in that level of self-awareness, is a son of a bitch to acquire, but it will carry you so far. And you actually, when we recorded an episode of my podcast at the cabin, on mushrooms, you asked me that question. It was the first time anybody had asked me that, if I loved myself. And I had to reflect a lot on that.
Really? So it hit you too?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. And I think that after that, I had to have a lot of internal dialogues and a lot of internal reflection on whether I did. And it was very beneficial for me to just that simple question you asked me, man. I was like, God, do I? And, so I love some things that I've done. I love some people in my life and all of that. And there were certain aspects, I think, where I didn't love myself or love who I was. And then there were also many where clearly I did, because as you pointed out, I take care of my body. I love myself enough to eat healthy foods and work out and all this stuff. And then it was just a good exercise in taking inventory, as you put it, of my inner self and how, and the relationship I have with myself, as weird as that sounds, because I think a lot of people avoid talking to themselves at all or looking at themselves at all and stay focused on the external because it's a lot easier to do that.
The hardest thing to do is taking inventory.
Yeah.
But that's where people need to shift it, is you can change those things. You can change all of them. It's a lot easier to change your internal state than your external, in all reality. Like, there's certain characteristics through genetics or whatever that like you're just kind of stuck with, right?
Right.
But if it's internal, like say I used to be a very negative person. I was very negative. And that was really one of the first things for me when I really was like, what do I want to change about myself? And this is back in 2019. This is when I've always read self-help books and shit like that, I guess, to a certain extent. They're mostly business. A lot of times they mix together, business and self-help.
Yeah.
But it was back in 2019. I realized I was really fucking negative, and that's when I started hanging out with Jacob Davis. And I realized just how much I enjoyed being around Jacob and how everyone loved being around Jacob. And I was like, why is that? And it's because Jacob's such a positive person. And then another person was Kevin Hart. Everyone loves Kevin Hart. Why does everyone love Kevin Hart? Because he's such a positive dude.
Yeah.
So Kevin Hart actually wrote a book about it. It's called, I don't remember. For those of you looking, Kevin Hart wrote a book about being positive, and it's absolutely amazing. I listened to this book like 5 times.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna check that out.
And it's him, and it's Audible. I think that's only available on Audible.
Oh yeah, it's an Audible original.
Yeah,
I remember seeing it on there, and I didn't.
It's absolutely
listen
amazing.
to it.
And the entire book is him being like, this is why you need to be positive, and he gives all of these different steps to help you do it. I listened to this book probably more than I've ever listened to any book in my life.
Wow.
So between Jacob Davis and Kevin Hart and then just some other people that I knew, I was like, okay, well, this is what kind of person I want to become. I'm not there right now, but I'm going to do whatever the fuck it takes to become a more positive person, because right now I am not happy with life, even though I should be. So what do I need to do to change that? And it was taking that inventory on myself. Okay, well, what are all the negative things that I do every day that I need to break? And it was just chipping away at those things. But people get stuck on this idea that however they are right now is how they're always going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you live in an age of information where you can learn anything that you want to, a lot of times for free with the internet. And there's someone out there that has already been there, done that, and they've put the information out there for you to work on yourself.
Yeah, more often than not, someone has already done it. The info's out there. You shouldn't reinvent the wheel, if you don't have to. And it truly is a time when, oddly enough, we have more resources at our disposal, more knowledge at our fingertips. We're more connected than ever, yet we're slipping further and further away from what it means to be human in the traditional sense.
Well, that's what humans do, though. Humans are always trying to find the next way to escape themselves.
Yeah.
Either if that's through drugs, alcohol, social media, television. We love distracting ourselves from ourselves.
It's true. We do, man.
It's very unfortunate. But the reason we do that is because we hate ourselves. Most people hate themselves. Like I said earlier, I hated myself for 29 years.
But that's interesting, though, because if you hate yourself, you probably hate yourself because you're not who you think you should be or who you want to be. And if that's the case, if you're not who you want to be, then that means you have some standard for who you think you should be.
Yes.
And so it's interesting to think that most people hate themselves because they actually have standards.
Yeah.
Right.
But then they also, it's a matter of taking action. I think they have this standard, but then they do nothing to reach that standard.
Yeah.
They've set the standard for themselves. And here's the thing too, like people set standards that are so fucking high that it's discouraging and they don't do it. We see it all the time in the damn gym.
Yeah, man.
You know, you see this bodybuilder and you want to look just like him, which is unrealistic because you don't know everything that he's doing or on. You know what I mean? But we set these super high expectations. We do it with relationships as well. I think I need to be dating this fucking 12. Bro, you're a 4 and you're a bum. Like, why would this 12 give you any attention? You aren't disciplined enough to look like this person. But also, like, regardless of any of that, we set such a high expectation that we get discouraged and we go, well, I'm just going to stay who I am today.
Right.
Instead of being like, okay, well, this is who I am right now. What's the next step? And then just focusing on that, not setting the step that's unreachable, but then just setting the next level for yourself, like deciding where you're going to go next and then actually putting in the fucking work in order to get there. But instead what people do is they shoot for the damn stars, which is good in certain aspects of life. But when it comes to working on yourself, you just need to change fucking one little thing at a time. And then eventually you're not able to recognize yourself anymore. And that is the best feeling in the world. But I think it's a matter of setting that super high expectation. And then people will just go, well, that's not possible, so I'm just not going to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell people all the time, whether it's fitness or business, don't compare your day 1 to my day 5,000. And that's what people do, right? They'll say, well, man, I'm not going to look like you, or man, I can't build a business like you have, like, because I'm here at the base of the mountain looking at the peak and it's way the hell up there. It's like, look, bro, don't compare your day 1 to my day 5,000. Compare your day 2 to your day 1.
Right.
Then compare your day 3 to your day 2.
Who were you yesterday?
Exactly. That's all that matters, dude. That's the only way you need to progress through life. I mean, sure, have an idea of who you'd like to become, and that can be based on some external figure. But what really matters in the present is how do you look today versus yesterday? And you just keep doing that. And it's like you said, you will be a different person. All of a sudden, you'll look back and say, damn, man, I had no idea I was changing that much, and I don't even recognize who I was before. That's how any one of us who have done anything of value got there. That's how anybody who has a physique that's admirable, anybody who's built a business that is admirable, anybody who has a strong, healthy relationship, they did it the same way.
Something I think about a lot is exactly what you're talking about is compounding.
Yeah.
Doing a little bit every single day. And it seems like it's taking forever. But then when you really look back and it's like, when did I start doing this? Okay, 3 months ago. And then you look at your progress and you go, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like I really haven't been putting in that much work. You know, just a little bit every day. Maybe it's reading for 20 minutes. Maybe it's going to the gym 4 times a week, whatever it is. And in the moment, it seems like you're not getting anywhere. But then 3 to 6 months later, it's amazing where you are, and because of compounding.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just like with habits, you know, when you can start compounding habits, your life changes dramatically. But that's the thing is people they don't allow themselves that opportunity. They don't push themselves enough for a long enough period of time to see these changes. And as a result, they just give up and they don't realize that they were right there. They were so fucking close to leveling up, as we say all the time. They were so fucking close and they gave up. And that's why with business, when I really was just running myself into the ground trying to build this company in the beginning, why I got so much fulfillment from that is because each day I'm like, holy shit, like I'm doing fucking more than I thought I could have. Like I had no idea I could work this hard.
Yeah.
And it's setting that new standard for myself, and it's raising that ceiling that I placed upon myself where it's like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And each day that ceiling was getting higher and higher and higher. And now it's to the point where there's not a single fucking thing I can't do. But if you would have asked 25-year-old Andy that, I would have given you the biggest list imaginable. But you can apply that to, like, you don't have to own a business to do that. We do that in the gym as well. It's working your fucking ass off in the gym. You know, if you're doing a bodybuilding style workout, go into absolute failure. Like someone's got a goddamn gun to your head and they're about to pull the trigger if you don't do one more rep. that type of training where you get done with leg day and you're like crawling to the trash can because you're about to puke. You can do this with everything. Maybe you hate working out, lifting weights, but you like running. So you're just running and you're beating that mile, that time, or you're running 10 miles or 20 miles, something that like didn't seem possible before. And you're constantly creating a new standard for yourself. But there's no way that we get to that point until we just give it our all.
Yeah.
We just, every single fucking thing that we have.
Yeah, you can't possibly get to that point until you find out what you're capable of.
And how do you find out what you're capable of?
Well, I mean, you have to push yourself, like you said, and we were talking about this before the show, kind of when I sold my business, and a big reason I sold it was because I was building the company while still working a full-time corporate job. And that sounds ridiculous when I even say that. I can't believe I did that. But what I told you I did was, for the first time in my life, I found my limit. And I think that's incredibly important for people, especially young people, but any person. And what I mean by that is I had never pushed myself so hard that I got to my just absolute breaking point. And most people won't be honest with themselves when they say that they've worked hard and have worked as hard as they can. Most people have not worked as hard as they can on anything.
I would
period.
say 99% of people.
At least. Probably 99.9. Is a popular quote by David Goggins, that psycho that runs hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
It's usually when you get to the point where you want to quit, you've only hit about 40% of your potential.
And that's like pushing the fucking needle.
That's pushing it, yeah. And so and I was telling you this before we recorded, man, during that period of my life, I was legitimately having 20-hour days because I would go to the office, then I would go to the business. I'd be at the business till 3 a.m., sleep a few hours, get up, do it again. And I truly found the limit of what I was capable of. And for me, just as it was for you in building Norse, it was incredibly fulfilling because never in a million years, if you had asked me a few years prior, if I thought I could achieve the level of work and just accomplishment, but like 20-hour days just sounds ridiculous. And I would have said, you're crazy. There's no way I'm capable of that. And I don't consider it to be healthy, but that wasn't the point of it. The point was to find out what I could do and to push myself.
You were growing.
I was growing, and to realize my capacity and what truly I can do, because what happens after that when you come out the other end is that you have an insane level of fucking confidence in yourself and your abilities. Now I know what I can do. Now I know that I can build a team of 100 people. Now I know that I'm capable of working ungodly hours if I'm driven to do so. And I know that I am of value. I have worth. I know that I am worthy of loving myself, you know? And not necessarily because I don't just love myself because I can work, but I know that I'm a human who has the capacity to create value for others. And I think, like I said before, you can't obtain external value or value for others unless you've worked on yourself internally and pushed it as far as you can with yourself.
It's a 100% confidence thing too. Like there's no way to not feel confident after you just give it your all. And that's really where self-love comes from, is knowing like I gave this every single fucking thing that I had.
Yeah, because the opposite, if you know you left something on the table, you feel fucking awful, man.
That's what I think about with business all the time, or even with this podcast. It's like, okay, I don't ever want to look back and be like, I could have done more. It terrifies the shit out of me. It doesn't terrify me as much as it used to, but there in the first 3 or 4 years of starting a business, it was, I'm so fucking terrified that I'm going to fail. And if I do fail, knowing that I could have done more and that I didn't, I don't know if I can live with myself. And I don't know if at that time I could have. like
actually lived.
Yeah, like I think I probably would have offed myself or something.
Yeah.
Like as fucked up as that sounds, it is what it is. That's just what kind of person I used to be. But if I knew, like I just knew already, right? It was, okay, you need to give this your all because you can't live with the regret of not. Now, looking back, that was a pretty fucking extreme. It was just a business. But at the time, it was everything. And I think the main thing for that was proving to myself. Like there was a part of me that was like, you can do this. Just keep fucking going. Just keep going. And that has happened so many times since then. That was the first time, was with business, but even during like the darkest periods of, say, like depression and stuff like that. Last one was like 9 months and it was worse than I could have ever imagined. And I just kept telling myself that, keep moving forward. Keep moving forward every single day. If I wasn't saying I love myself, I was saying keep moving forward.
Yeah.
But it was because I knew from pushing myself previously, is like, you've got this. Like there's a part of me, and the more that you do this, the more that you do just push those boundaries to discover what you're capable of, that voice gets louder.
Mm-hmm. It does, yeah.
And I don't know where the fuck that voice is coming from or anything like that. Like, but it 100% gets louder. And you go, what else can I do? And you want to continue. It becomes addicting. It's the most addicting thing in the world.
Well, that's how you change the world, though. You change the world by changing yourself. Once you've worked on yourself enough, then you're in a position to improve, let's say, your family's position in the world, and then your street, your community, your neighborhood, your state, your country, the world. And especially today, where we have platforms that allow us so much reach, you truly can create change in the world, but you cannot do that, man, until you've worked on yourself. You know, Jordan Peterson says, clean your room. There's so many iterations of it, right? Like you have to work on this before you try to work on that. And it's so much easier. And it's a very prevalent trait in young people, especially today, to only just focus on the world around them instead of themselves.
Well, it's because they want attention.
That's true too.
Yeah, people want attention nowadays, and what they don't realize is that attention is absolutely meaningless.
And we have attached value to attention, and that's dangerous.
Our self-worth value.
Our self-worth value.
The value in ourself, we
Yeah.
base it off of how much attention we can get off social media and everyone else.
Yeah, and I hate that. I hate this whole narrative of posting things to get likes, and if you get a bunch of likes, that means it's a quote good post. And so I harp on this all the time, man. I've posted on my social media just this week. I was like, post something that you know won't get a lot of likes, but you know is valuable and people should see it.
I'm not gonna lie, that was something that was hard for me at one point. Like
It's hard for all of us.
Yeah, like it was really something I had to break.
Well, because you need a metric by which to measure your progress in any endeavor, and likes are the best way at face value for you to say, hey, that's a good post.
An external factor for sure.
Yeah, but then you get past that and you realize, man, fuck it, I'm just going to post stuff I think people need to see. I don't care if it gets a bunch of likes or not, because it needs to be seen. And that's the difference between self-fulfillment, aka just posting shit to get likes, and creating value for others, aka just putting valuable content out there and not giving a fuck whether it gets likes or not.
It kind of goes back to knowing that you did your best, though, as well. It's like, okay, well, I know that I'm trying my best with this. I created this video, and I think it's going to be super valuable, and I put a lot of time and effort into it. Instead of basing it off likes and shares and all this other shit, base it off that. Base it off of the fact that you really fucking put some time and effort into this. Like you put the work in. And that alone should be where the fulfillment comes from. It shouldn't be from external factors from other people. It should be from knowing inside that you fucking did your best.
And here's the thing, though. You will find out in due time whether it was beneficial to the world as well.
Yeah.
Because a strange thing will happen. Like, let's say you're someone who's, since we're on this social media topic now, let's say you're someone who's got a small account and You get down on yourself because, oh man, I don't have a lot of followers. Nobody cares about what I'm saying. Yada, yada, fucking yah. You hear it all the time. But you keep posting. And what will happen, and I know this because I experienced this in the early days of my Instagram account, is I would start to hear from people like, man, I never comment or like anything, but I've been watching your stuff for a long time and I just want to say thank you. I've started implementing some of the things that you talk about and I've lost all this weight. I feel better, etc. And that is where you get the external gratification. But that comes later. And that's another issue, is that people want that gratification immediately, and they need to understand that the external gratification will come later. You can experience self-gratification in the now because you'll know you did your best. But then the cherry on top is finding out later that your best changed lives.
Yeah. But that doesn't happen until you start working on yourself.
Man.
You can't do it. And that's what people need to realize, including myself at one point. Even though like back then I was really working on myself at the same time, but I wanted to be known, I guess. I would say at the time I wanted to be known more than I did wanting to make an impact. So everything that we're talking about right now, it's not necessarily me talking shit or Dave talking shit.
No, we've both been
there. Like,
yeah.
Say 5 years ago, it wasn't necessarily I want to make an impact, I want to change the world. It was I want people to know who I am. And I remember watching those videos and I could fucking see it.
Yeah.
And that was when I was like, I'm stopping. Like I stopped trying to do any content. And that's when I just really started working on myself. Like I disappeared for years. And I just put in the work. And then when I went through a really rough patch and I came out of it and I was like, okay, I don't ever want anyone to feel how I just felt for the past year. That's when I started this podcast. And I don't give a shit if anyone necessarily knows who I am. I want people to listen to what I say, to what you say, what other people say, and hopefully they can grab something from it to change their life. That's why, like, I'd much rather people know who Norse is and not Andy.
Right.
Like, unfortunately, Norse can't just talk for itself. So, like, I have to fucking do it for it. But back in the day, it was 100%, I want people to know who I am, which I think every man does to a certain extent. It's part of being a man, is like leaving that legacy, wanting people to know who the fuck you are. Like, it's a powerful thing. But when you can, like, go of that and just be like, I just want to change the damn world.
Yeah.
That's way more powerful.
But a funny thing happens when you do that, though. What's the end result?
Yeah, everyone ends up knowing who you are anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. And it goes back to the same thing we talked about earlier, bro. Like, if you just focus on creating value instead of being obsessed with becoming rich, you'll probably get rich as fuck eventually.
You absolutely will.
But again, it's focusing on the things that truly matter versus some arbitrary end result. And the reason that happens is because the people that you admire, that you look up to, who have, quote, made it, they focused on creating value. First, they focused on themselves and making themselves the best they could be. And then they focused on creating external value for others. That's how it's done. Like, that's the only way, man.
Well, that's the only way you make money.
Yeah. Or in any of this shit that we've talked about, man, is like, the recipe's pretty fucking simple, right? And it's not easy. There's a difference between easy and simple, right? Simple, it's hard as fuck. But it's a few simple things, truly. Like, it's as simple as, like, drink water, get sleep, work out. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Focus on having a meaningful relationship with your significant other. Have sex with them. Like, experience being a human, right? Like, experience feeling tired. Experience fear. Experience hurting yourself, right? Like, all these little things are so vital to feeling human, and they're going to shape you into a better human. Just like I'll do simple things like, don't wear my sunglasses when I go out in the sun, because I want to experience that little bit of adversity and pain, right? Like, don't take a pre-workout before you train. Just rely on your body, right? Don't drink your coffee one morning and push through, right? Skip that nap, push through. Like, experience
Discomfort.
being a human. Discomfort. Stop dulling your humanity, Everybody wants to dull their fucking humanity. Like, oh, I feel sad. Let me take a pill. Oh, I need energy. Let me take a pill. Oh, I need to, block out the sun's rays. Let me put on sunglasses. Oh man, I don't want to work out while it's quiet. Let me put in my headphones. Like, dude, embrace your humanity.
Well, that's the issue with modern culture, is that we're constantly trying to escape being human.
Yes.
We don't want to feel anything. I've been depressed, and it's beautiful. Now, but the difference is, back in the day, I would think about it as in like there was something wrong with me.
Right.
Where now, when I get a little down, I'm like, why am I down? Well, it's because I care about something. Maybe I'm down because my kid's staying at her mom's house and I just miss her. That's a beautiful thing, that I miss my kids so much and that I love my kids so much.
Exactly.
That I'm upset about it, right? If you're like, it's not a bad thing. These emotions are not bad. Even anger. Anger could be considered a beautiful thing as well, because that means that you're passionate about something.
Yeah, you care.
Yeah, exactly. You care. But instead of acknowledging these things as just part of being human and realizing that it's honestly a gift, because without negative emotions, life would be boring as fuck. We have all these stigmas and taboo and shit on it. And then unfortunately, we live in a day of age where we can distract ourselves with so many different things.
Think about this, dude. Remember when you were a kid, you would get bored?
Dude, I miss it. I think about it all the time.
Remember getting bored?
I miss the opportunity to be bored. But I remember when I was a kid. And
well,
I'm
even
like,
if you had the opportunity today, you wouldn't.
No.
People don't get bored anymore. Think about it.
No.
Why? Because phone in their face.
I don't know if it's possible for me to get bored anymore, man. Like when I don't have anything to do, I go and do nothing. My favorite thing in the world is sitting by myself in nature.
Yeah.
With no distractions, just sitting there. And I couldn't tell you the last time I thought to myself, holy shit, I'm bored. I go out and I just sit in solitude, where most people would lose their damn mind. And when I was a kid, I thought it was the worst thing in the world. But now, like, my favorite thing is what boredom is. It's just sitting and doing nothing, not watching TV, not reading a book, not being on my phone, but just sitting there and just watching life.
Yeah.
I don't know. How can you get bored with life? Just watching it.
Well, I mean, that's a good point.
I've never thought about it, but
yeah.
Because of expectations. There should be something else going on right now.
Right. And that's what it is. We are in this constant state of wanting stimulus in some form. And I think it's partially because you've gotten to a point where you can embrace stillness in your life and welcome it. I think most people can't.
Well, it's terrifying to them.
Yeah. But again, that goes back to just looking at yourself, sitting with yourself, being comfortable being yourself, feeling all the feelings and emotions that come with being yourself, man. That is largely just missing from the world today. And I think that it really is a contributing factor to why we have so much depression, mental illness, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, anxiety. We have gotten so far from the operating conditions through which we evolved over many, many years that we've created this state of mental health crises for ourselves. And a lot of it is, I was just having this conversation with UFC fighter I just had on my show, the Free Mind Podcast, check it out. And we were talking about how he started fighting after he was in the military to cope with PTSD. And there's a lot to that, because hard-ass physical work or hard-ass work in general, keeping yourself occupied with a task or with a goal or an objective and just working as hard as you fucking can towards it, guess what you don't have time to do at the end of the day, man?
Reflect.
Well, you don't have that, but specifically, you're not going to get depressed. You're not going to, I mean, you can't, dude.
No, because you feel fulfilled.
You feel fulfilled. And it can be as simple as that, man. If you're someone sitting around at home, depressed and down on yourself, get out and move your body around. You
got to get that energy moving. That's all it is.
That's it, man. But when you give it your all physically or otherwise, and you're just exhausted at the end of the day, man, A, you have a feeling of accomplishment, and B, You're just too fucking tired to be depressed. You just want to sleep, man.
If
you haven't overstimulated yourself and all these other things we talked about, these
I would
other
say
Band-Aids.
helping other people. There's no way that you feel down when you help other people.
That's true too.
I realized that a long time ago. If you're ever feeling down, just go help someone else. You
Go help
immediately feel
somebody.
better.
Yeah.
The other thing is start stacking victories. I did this yesterday, man. Like, once again, everything that I talk about is the only shit that I deal with personally.
Yeah, dude, I only speak with any authority whatsoever because I've fucked up so many times.
Exactly. And yesterday was one of those fucking days where I woke up in a weird mood and the entire day I just couldn't snap out of it. And then around 5 o'clock last night, I just started stacking victories. It's like something in the back of my head was just like, yo, just start doing shit.
But hold on, define a victory.
Victory for me was something very simple. So this is exactly
that's the key. That's what I wanted.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So this is exactly what I did. I did some breath work. So I think really what started it was I didn't do my morning routine. Every morning I do certain things to start stacking victories first thing, and it sets me up for success. I didn't have a chance to do that yesterday morning. So last night I did my morning routine. I did some breath work. I jumped in an ice bath, and also I knew the ice bath was going to release dopamine, which was going to like improve my mood a little bit. And then I meditated, I read a little bit, and I went on a walk, which I ended up hitting like 15,000 steps. Usually it's always 10. So I was like, there's a victory. So I just stacked a bunch of fucking victories, small victories for myself. And I think that's the most important part there. It's not necessarily stacking victories for monetary value or anything like that. It's doing stuff for myself because I owe it to myself.
Yes.
And it was doing that, it took an hour, if that. It didn't take much time.
People talk a lot about self-love, right? We've talked about that. Do you love yourself?
All the time.
I think it's gotten convoluted in a lot of ways today, though. A lot of people interpret self-love as just loving yourself for just who you are right now, which you can and you should, but also you need to leave room for what I think is true self-love, which is improving yourself.
Wanting more for yourself.
Trying to be better, wanting more for yourself. True self-love is striving to be the best you can be. And it's gotten conflated with this idea that self-love is like just be happy, you can be 500 pounds, morbidly obese, but you should just love yourself as you are and make no changes.
Those people don't love themselves, they hate themselves.
That is 100% true.
But what sucks is that you have society and friends, apparent friends of theirs, telling them that they're perfect just the way they are now. And as a result, these people don't feel the need that they need to change, even though they fucking hate themselves as a result, which just isn't me attacking anybody. Like, this is me saying that you deserve more.
Exactly.
You should want more for yourself.
But the point there was that you taking the time to stack those small victories for yourself, to some might look like just work, like effort, like, ooh, gosh, people frown on effort. And it's like, no, that is self-love, dude. That is loving yourself. Loving yourself isn't this whole fucking treat yourself bullshit that people talk about. That's hating yourself. Like you said, you have to get that out of your head. I just want to emphasize that because I talk to so many like 17-year-old dudes, and the paradigm has shifted so heavily to this idea that you shouldn't have to, like, effort is bad, basically. I was talking to a kid who was getting ready to go to school, and we were talking about working through college. He was like, I really don't want to have to get a job while I'm in school and et cetera. And I'm like, well, dude, I worked 3 jobs while I was in college at the same time. And he said something, and I've talked about this on my show, I think, that really stuck with me and really struck a nerve. He said, nobody should have to work 3 jobs while they're in school. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Nobody should have to, based on what?
Yeah.
So there's this idea that effort is bad, work is bad. Working those 3 jobs was self-love, man.
Yeah. Because you want more for yourself. So you're willing to do whatever the fuck it takes for you.
Whatever it takes. Pushing it is self-love. Fucking Netflix and chill and all this dumb shit, that's not self-love, man.
No. The only time that becomes self-love, I think, is whenever you earn it. When you move the needle so fucking hard for so long that you go, you know what? I deserve to just relax for a minute.
Yeah, but the bulk of your self-love was moving that needle.
Oh, that's the only way that you can
That
love
was
yourself.
the big thing. That was the big thing. Celebrating your wins that's okay. Do it, move on. But I'm telling you, man, it's this really dangerous idea that you shouldn't have to put in a lot of effort to reap reward, and that you are entitled to a certain level of comfort in life. And this, again, goes back to your messaging, abandon modern culture. It is a idea or a part of modern culture today that people should have a certain level of accommodation in their life, just period, by way of existing, right? And I don't believe that.
No.
I believe that thinking that is instilling essentially self-hate in young people, making young people think that they don't need to work for anything, and ultimately never finding out their true value, what they're truly capable of. What we were talking about, finding your fucking limit. If you're growing up in a culture where work is bad and you're entitled to everything, you think you're going to try to find your fucking limit and therefore
you have no drive to do so.
Exactly. Develop the level of gratitude necessary to be a happy person. No, that's why we're so fucked up.
Yeah, that's 100% why we're so fucked up. What upsets me the most about what you're talking about, people not wanting to do more for themselves, not wanting to put in the work, thinking that work is just this bad thing, is that I think it's going to stop humanity from progressing. And that upsets me because human beings are such a remarkable species. We can do anything that we fucking want. And the only reason we've gotten to that point, though, the only reason we've accomplished as much as we have in a pretty short period of time, in all reality, is because we were willing to do the work. We were willing to do whatever the fuck it took. And we've gotten to this point now where life is so comfortable that we think that we don't have to do anything.
And they forget, how did we get to that level of comfort?
Because of these motherfuckers, these people before us that were putting in the damn work every single day.
It's the old adage, man. Good time, hard men or strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create strong men. It's that cycle, and we are deep in the fucking pit of weak men creating hard times.
What upsets me, though, man, is I don't think the shift is going to happen as quickly as it has in the past because of where we are with technology and everything else.
You mean the shift in overall mindset back to
like
one
you said,
of hard
it's
work?
a cycle, right?
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
Yeah.
Every society has gone through it. Rome went through it. That's how Rome fell. That's always how this happens. And that's what's fucking crazy is we have seen it happen so many times throughout human history. And yet here we are repeating the same stupid shit. And we're just like, oh, this doesn't apply to us. It always fucking applies to us.
Always applies.
It always applies to us. But because of where we are with technology now, I think we're going to see this get worse and worse and worse. And it's not necessarily going to stop when it should. That cycle should be restarted, right? Where we experience hard times. People have to put in the fucking work. And as a result, humanity levels up as a whole. Like across this board, humanity levels up. But because of comfort and because of technology and all this shit, we won't see it in our lifetime. I don't think we will.
We have children too, man.
We have children. I don't know if they will. And this is what fucks me up, is because I love human beings. I used to not. I used to be like, human beings are going to fucking destroy everything, blah, blah. I have complete faith in human beings.
You know what, man? I just want to stop on that for a second, because that's profound. And I was the same way.
Well, look at our upbringing, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly why. And I just want to focus on that for a second, because there's probably people listening to this who there are a lot of parallels, right, between our lives and theirs. And it's like, I also can say with full confidence that I love human beings and humanity now. This is why I'm the dude who went viral for holding "we can disagree and still be friends" on a sign and got raked across the fucking coals by both sides of the political spectrum for it. I truly do believe that, man. I think people are good. And I used to be nihilistic. I used to think dude, My parents were 16 when I was born. They were drug addicts. They beat the ever-loving fuck out of me. I get it if you're listening to this and you're like, man, people are not good. Trust me, they are. Hurt people is an expression for a reason. And I've learned now, way later in life, that my parents were not bad people. They were hurt people. And unfortunately, I suffered the brunt of that as a kid.
But you broke the fucking cycle.
But I did, but only by developing gratitude and an appreciation for people and for life. And you only get to that by what? Developing your fucking self. Dude.
Yeah, for sure. The turning point for me with that, same thing, upbringing. My parents were, my dad wasn't a drug addict. He was a good dude. He just worked really hard. And he was young when he had me, 18. My mom is a drug addict, and she just wasn't in my life at all. Like, I haven't seen her since I was 7. But it was realizing with those two that they tried their best. And while I was thinking about that, I remember thinking everyone is trying their best. And as soon as that really sunk in, everyone is trying their best with the tools that they are given. That's where the love came from for everybody. And when I say everybody, like, I mean fucking everybody. There's not a single person on this planet that I don't wish the best for. Do I think it might happen? Probably not. Like, I know a lot of people that they're just going to continue spiraling downwards, and I hate that for them. It is what it is, but I wish them the best. Even if they have fucked me over in the past, which there's a lot of people that have, I don't wish any bad will towards these people because I understand that they're just a product in their environment. But at its core, human beings are amazing.
They truly are. And I believe that, man. Just like you said, again, I always think about, if you're listening to this, what's something you can take from this, man. Like, let's say someone cuts you off in traffic. I used to get the worst road rage, dude, especially when I was on Trend. And
I knew that was fucking coming too.
I'm telling you, like, literally wanting to pull over and pull someone out of their car and beat the fuck out of them. Like, that's how mad I would get.
Right.
But when I started to have more empathy and realize that everyone's
dealing with something.
Everyone's living a life just like you're living a life, man. All the shit you're going through, all the complexities, all the bullshit, they got that shit too.
Yep.
So let's say someone cuts me off. Man, who knows? Maybe they're in a fucking hurry because they just found out their kid got in an accident. Like, who the fuck knows what is going on in their life? And who am I to get all pissed at that person? So literally, I'll just be like, man, they're in a hurry. I hope everything's okay. Like, that's how much I've shifted my perspective.
Same.
And I can feel my blood pressure lower. Like, it makes such a difference, dude. But
it's just perspective. It's that self-talk.
That's all it is.
You have to keep. I love when conversations come full circle like this, because this is how we started off this podcast. Was talking about your self-talk, your perspective on what you're doing in life, all of that different stuff, and that applies to everything. When you catch that negative self-talk, you got to fucking stop it. You got to grab it and say, no, motherfucker, we are not going down this road again because we're breaking this cycle.
You're fully capable of doing that too.
Everyone is, but it takes so much work. That is the hardest thing. And that's what I notice with people. When I'm really impressed with someone that I just met, it's the amount of self-awareness that I can tell that they have, because I understand how difficult it is to do that, especially in a world that is full of distractions. But I think that's one of the main reasons that people are depressed and anxiety is through the roof and all these different things, is we do not allow ourselves time to process. We are constantly filling our head with so much shit day in and day out, and we do not allow time for it to process, especially at night with sleep.
Yeah.
Everyone's sleep quality is shit. They're not getting enough sleep, me being one of those people. And that's when we process everything throughout the day. But you have people going off 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep, but their sleep quality is shit because they've been drinking caffeine all the way up until they go to bed, or maybe they're watching Netflix or whatever the fuck, or on their phone, so they have that blue light stimulation.
Probably all three, man.
All three. No, exactly. They're sitting there on the couch drinking an energy drink while scrolling through their phone. Like, that is people's reality.
That is 100%.
It's very unfortunate. Yeah. But as a result, they don't actually get that REM and deep sleep where they can process everything. So everything just continues to build, and anxiety continues to build. And then eventually they fucking lose their shit. And it's like, well, no, of course you did. Of course you did. Of course you did, because you did not allow anything to catch up.
Man, this, as funny as this sounds, I've done this personally, because I realized I had no Not a single moment of understimulation in my life where it was just me. And so I had to start small. Remember, we stack small victories, right?
Yep.
So I was like, God, how can I do this? Oh, every time I go shit, I'm on my phone. I'm going to leave my phone outside of the bathroom and I'm going to shit in silence. I'm going to shit.
It was profound though, wasn't it?
I'm going to shit with myself to sit with myself. And that was how I would start having moments of silence because I realized, man, I can't even go take a shit without my phone. Like I would feel this despair if I was, oh, I don't have my phone. Hold on. I'm literally about to shit myself, but I'm going to run back in this room and grab my phone because I need it so badly while I'm sitting on the toilet.
You're going to be bored while shitting.
Exactly.
And you can't have that. You can't do that. You can't be bored.
Right. Sit with yourself. Shit. Well, how did I say it? That was good.
I was going to tell you put on a t-shirt.
You got to shit with yourself to sit with yourself or whatever. But literally start there. I've used this shitting method before. When I was,
The shitting method.
I'm telling you, when I was in college, I wanted to increase the amount of time I was spending reading. No, actually, this was in high school, senior year of high school.
Which is pretty cool that in high school, this is where your mind was.
Yeah, I was a huge nerd, man. But I told myself I'm going to make sure every time I sit down to take a dump, I'm going to read whatever book I'm on. You know, make sure I knock out some pages. And it's just it's silly. We laugh about it, but honestly, man, if you're listening to this, I guarantee you, when you go shit, you're on your smartphone. I guarantee you.
Everyone is.
Try doing it without it.
Yeah.
Try doing it without it and sit there and look at the fucking wall while you shit and sit with yourself.
Eventually, it gets way easier to not have your phone on you. But if I could tell anyone, like they're listening to this right now, right? And they're like, okay, well, how do I start getting more self-awareness? How do I become more okay with myself? How do I start to love myself? Well, you can't start to love yourself until you start to know who you are.
Yeah.
You cannot do that when you're constantly distracted by other things. So it's getting off your fucking phone. I'm at a point now where I lose my phone at least 50 times a day because I put it somewhere 4 hours ago and I forgot all about it. When I'm with my daughter, I don't have my phone on me. When I'm with my girlfriend, the phone is somewhere else.
That's good, man.
But now it's no longer an issue. Back in the day, it was. But I would have not been able to do anything as far as self-work goes if I did not cut out screen time as much as possible. I mean, the biggest impact I did as far as just working on myself, the biggest impact I had was whenever I deleted social media for 9 months straight. I deleted all social media. This was back in 2019. I deleted it, and the leveling up that happened during that 9 months was amazing. Like, to the point where I fucking miss it at times, where I'm like, I don't miss being suicidal, but I do miss just being so dialed in and having so much time to just work on myself and having that mental clarity. But that's why I said earlier, like, my favorite thing in the world is going out into the woods and just sitting by myself. You go fishing all the time, right?
Yep.
I'm guessing that's why you go fishing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The exact same reason. It's such an amazing thing to do, and yet people are absolutely terrified of it. And I see it all the time just by observing people, and I can see it on them. Like, you just need to put down your fucking phone.
Yeah.
Like, you are a wreck right now, and I just need you to put down your phone and just sit with yourself. And you may lose your shit for a minute, but you're going to come out of that feeling so much better.
Yeah, and you can find little excuses, little justifications. Oh, I own a business. I have a job. I have
It's
whatever.
bullshit. Okay, I told myself the same thing.
Same here, man. Same here. And especially when you're with your kid and when you're with your family, now you have no excuse, because I could maybe think of needing to make sure I'm looking at my phone when my kid's not with me in case something happened to her. But if I'm with them, fuck it, man. There is no call or message I can get in that moment that's more important than doing something with them.
Something I did a few months back in regards to that was I had Genevieve hide my phone.
Oh, that's cool.
Not because I needed to, because
Yeah.
I'm usually not on it. I'll leave it in the car. I'll just throw it on the kitchen counter or whatever. But I wanted her to know.
Yeah.
You know, she's 5 now. She's about to turn 6. And I was like, I want her to know that she's more important than my phone. So I told her to go hide it. And what fucked me up the most, to be honest with you, and I don't know where this came from, because like I said, like, she doesn't really see me on it. Maybe it's other people or something. But my kid had anxiety over me telling her to go hide my phone.
Go on that a little more.
Because I told her, it was like she wasn't excited. I was expecting, like I said, I was expecting her to be like, "Oh, awesome," you know. But I was like, "Go hide my phone, sweetheart." I was like, "Don't remember where you put it, and then give it back to me before you go to bed. But just go hide my phone." She's like, "No," and I'm like, "What do you mean no? Like this is supposed to be a fun game."
So what did she say?
Well, she's like, "Okay." So like, all awkwardly, she like went and put my phone like in her room or something. And then, so we tried watching a movie because we have like a movie night once a week. I'm just sitting there trying to watch a movie, and my kid's like worried about my phone.
That's interesting.
Dude, it sucked. It sucked because I was like, where the hell is this coming from? Because I fixed this so long ago, years and years ago. Like I hired a mentor to help me get this shit underneath control. And I was like, where the fuck is this coming from? Why is my 5-year-old stressed out over me not having my phone? And I still haven't gotten to the bottom of it. And I think it's because she sees other people. Like she understands that phones are important.
And that's how much we are programming our youth, man.
And that's what, so that was the scary part. And I was like, well, I don't know what else I can do because I already try to limit this damn thing as much as possible. But the fact that my kid has anxiety over me not having my phone on me or nearby, and that's what's crazy. Like I could have just did what I usually do and leave it in the car or on the counter and she would have been completely fine. But it's the fact that I told her I'm not going to have my phone on me. And she was like, well, you have to. And I was like, no, I don't. I talked to her about this. I'm like, this is not important. She's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. Like you are important. Spending time with you is important. But this phone is not. This is just something. I don't want you to worry about this. It was one of the weirdest things as a dad that I've dealt with, actually.
That is weird.
And I haven't really thought about it since then. But, and I think that's what it is. She sees so many people on her phone all the time, or on their phone, right? My 5-year-old doesn't have a phone.
Yeah, neither does mine, for the record.
Yeah, but it's, but that's the thing is, I do know 5-year-olds that have a damn phone.
Yep.
And 8-year-olds and stuff. So it's not just even adults. My kid sees everyone on their phone all the time. And she thinks that it's a crucial part of life when it's not fucking even part of real life. It is part of man-made life, this world that we have created outside of nature, but it's not actually part of life. Like we do not need this damn phone to survive, even though people think that they do, including my 5-year-old, which is absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a super weird thing, man. I don't.
That is weird.
I don't know.
Well, it's certainly a lesson in how impressionable kids are and how much they're absorbing all the time.
Everything around them.
Yeah.
They're always observing. They're always watching.
I had an interesting moment yesterday with my kid. Her mom was talking about, I forget how it came up, but she said something like, "Daddy's really smart." I can't even remember why. And Carter, my daughter, was like, "You shouldn't say that, Mommy. If you say that someone's smart, then that'll make other people feel stupid."
Ooh. Your blood pressure must have like
I was like, hold on a second here. You know, like
you're in a different room.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
Where
what
the
did you
fuck
just
did
say?
she learn this?
Yeah.
First, and that was the big thing. Where the fuck did she learn this? Where did she hear this from? Because this is antithetical to everything I represent, right? Like winners win. We elevate the winners. Life is a meritocracy. I don't care. If you feel bad because someone calls someone else smart, then you need to improve yourself.
That's all that boils down to.
That's all that boils down to. But hearing that come out of my daughter's mouth was just I hit a fucking brick wall, man. And I don't know where it came from. We're going to get to the bottom of it, but and that's exactly how she said it. You shouldn't call people smart because that'll make other people feel stupid.
What the fuck?
And I'm like, me of all people too. I'm hearing this out of my 5-year-old's mouth. Like,
it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because that's every kid. Like that's the world that our kids are growing up in.
But I don't even know where she heard it, bro, because she started kindergarten today. And she's with us or her nanny, who I know doesn't spout that shit. So it must have been some video she saw.
Say TV or some shit, man.
TV or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Or some other kid maybe said it to her.
Well, even going back to like the phone thing, I let her watch a couple cartoons, and all those fucking people even have phones. Like, we're programming our kids for failure. We're completely detaching our kids from how their world really works and replacing it with just this shit that is not going to allow them to thrive, which is why we do what we do, right?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like this, it's a battle. It's a battle against the outside world. In modern culture, we're constantly fighting this fucking thing, which is ridiculous that we have to fight the world that we live in order for our kid to grow up to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things attacking them, trying to get them to be this mediocre fucking piece of shit, which isn't going to happen with my kid. I know it's not going to happen with yours.
No.
There's no way in hell. But that's literally what we are fighting every day, is this mediocre expectation for everybody and everything, which goes back to what Carter said. Well, it's not good to be smart because other people aren't smart, which means that we need to remain fucking mediocre right here.
I was like, she, that was straight out of the Communist Manifesto. I'm like, what is
Your
going
American
on
heart
right now?
just shattered
Yeah,
everywhere.
dude, oh my God. But it was wild to hear it come out of my child's mouth, especially because I have no clue where she would have heard it. That's the big thing. Like, I have no idea, dude.
That's what got me too, because, we try so hard as parents to raise our kids properly and make sure that their mindsets are on point and everything else. And same thing with the phone. I was like, I'm putting in all this fucking work. I'm trying to make sure, like telling her go hide the damn phone or not being on it and stuff like that, that it's not even really having an impact. I'm sure that it is. Like,
having an impact.
She's going to remember that her dad was present. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not having the impact that I want. I would love for her to grow up and be like, I don't need no damn phone, which we still got some work to do. Like, we still have time for that. But it's just, is realizing it's like we're up against something that is just, it's completely new.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily know how to fight it.
Well, and the establishment wants them complicit in a lot of these behaviors because it makes them easier to control.
Control. Everything's with control nowadays.
Everything boils down to control, man.
I think it always has been, of course. Anytime that there's been government and kingdoms and kings and queens and all of this shit, presidents, it's always been a matter of control. But because of where we are now as a species and with technology and what we know about psychology and all this different things, it is being done at such a scale that is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Because that's what it boils down to. Like, we have so many things that are attacking who we are and what we're capable of achieving and trying to stop us from doing that. That's why so even like during COVID, I was talking to my dad about this the other day. Of course, when I saw people riding around in their cars with their masks on, I was just like, what the fuck are you doing? But at the same time, I never once was that person that was like, you're a fucking idiot.
Right.
I remember being at a gas station one time and there was some chick with her mask on and some fucking redneck came into the QT and he just felt the urge to start making fun of this chick, calling her an idiot and all this different shit. And I was like, okay, you don't know if you're right. You don't know if you're right. Like, who the fuck knows right now? Because it's like in the beginning of the pandemic. I was like, but either way, this chick is scared. That's what this boils down to. And it was the same on the other side with the fucking people that were just like super pro-vaccine. And then they didn't understand that the people that didn't want the vaccine was because they were fucking scared. Right? And that's what all of that boiled down to. No one was certain of anything. Everyone was scared. And they also had all of these different manipulation tools being used against them for them to think a certain way, for everyone to be doing exactly what happened at that gas station that day, fucking hating each other over masks. And they don't necessarily realize that it's even happening to them.
Right.
So I never I try to catch myself a lot just being empathetic to no matter what it is, because I realize that people are fighting a war that they don't even know that they're fighting.
That's the saddest part. They're being manipulated and they don't even realize it. And
we don't even we're
we're
manipulated.
guilty of it too.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone is.
I remember the first time me and Jacob were watching this show. And both of us started picking out. We're like, they're 100% pushing an agenda with this fucking zombie movie. It was the weirdest damn thing. It was a show about zombies. And yet both of us were like, what the fuck is this about? And then after that moment, now I can't watch a single thing
It's all, you
without
always notice.
seeing some bullshit,
Yeah.
right? But how long has that been going on?
Forever.
forever. And we
Yeah.
don't even realize it because these tools that are being used against us are so powerful that they just go unseen, but they are sure as fuck being used.
Absolutely.
And they're effective. They're so effective. So
Yeah.
I guess the whole reason I bring that up is just be like, stop hating everybody. That's really what it boils down to, is like these people, we're all fighting the same thing. We're all fighting this modern age idea that everyone needs to be mediocre.
Yeah.
Because like you said, mediocre is controllable.
Mediocre is controllable. Complacency and comfort go hand in hand. The remedy to all of the bullshit, again, is being the best you.
Working on yourself every day.
Working on yourself, man. I mean, the best way to be ungovernable, uncontrollable, however you want to phrase it, is to be the strongest, most proficient, best possible, most positive, fucking get after it every day person you can be.
And that's not even a matter of anything else besides just wanting that for yourself. That's
Exactly.
really what it boils down to, is like,
Yeah.
you should want that for yourself. And if you're listening to this right now and you don't feel that, which would be hard to believe because you're listening to this specific podcast, but say like you're sitting there and you're like, I just don't really want more for myself. You need to figure out why that is. And you
Yeah.
need to start addressing that, because you should. Like, you need to love yourself enough to want to become the best version of yourself. And like we've said numerous times throughout this podcast episode, it's not a matter of going overboard with it. Like, one little thing every day will compound over time, and you will be a completely different person before you even know it. And you owe that to yourself. You owe that to your future self. You owe that to your family. You owe that to your friends.
You owe that to everyone who came before you to build this amazing life that you have now.
Right? Your fucking ancestors that were fighting cave bears with a goddamn stick and stone.
You are the result of a successful sperm after a successful sperm after a successful sperm after like, you fucking made it. The odds of you existing, I think they figured out it's like 1 in 4 trillion.
Something like that.
Something crazy like that. Of even being a human, right? You could have been born a fucking fruit fly that dies in 5 days. You owe it to all of us to be better. Period. It's your responsibility to be better.
It is your responsibility. It's all of our responsibilities. And that's not saying like you're not going to have bad days, because we all have bad days.
Of course, but that being better doesn't mean you don't have bad days.
No, and it also means not beating yourself up. It's like, okay, today wasn't great. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. That's okay. That's okay, because I'm fucking human and I'm not perfect. But tomorrow I'm going to do better. And say tomorrow comes along and it's still the same. You just didn't get a lot done. Okay, cool. Well, tomorrow.
Right.
And then if you just continue to not give up and just continue to do one little thing, eventually that will turn into a habit. And then you'll discover something else that you want to change about yourself. So you start taking action with that.
Yeah.
And that becomes a habit. And then that becomes part of your identity. And it doesn't take a lot. That's why I fucking hate, man, when people say I don't have time. What do you mean you don't have time? You don't have time to read 5 pages of a book? Well, I don't have my favorite. And I know that meditation is not for everybody, and that's completely okay. But when people say, well, I just don't have time to meditate, you don't have 5 minutes to just sit? You have 5 minutes, you just choose to be on your phone instead.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You always have time. Like with fishing, that would be a little bit different. I don't have time to fish. Well, I got to like get a bunch of shit together for that. But like to read a book, to go on a run, just go put on your damn shoes and go for a fucking run out the door.
Well, it's also, I hate I don't have time because there's a simple solution to that. Make time.
Yeah, you make time.
Fucking make time.
You cut out something that you're doing right now that isn't moving the needle, and you replace it with something that will move the needle.
That's it. I mean, we all have the same number of hours in a day, man, and there's someone who was dealt a way shittier hand than you who's doing a lot more with what they were dealt. So I have, like I said, I love people, but I also have zero sympathy for someone who whines and plays the victim all the time.
Well, it's because you know that they're capable of achieving more.
Exactly. It's because I believe in them, and I wish they would believe in themselves.
That's what fucks me up the most. I had someone, it was a gym member, he died about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit less. And I remember being upset because I'm like, I had more faith in this dude than he had in himself, because he died of like health issues, right? And he was such a good dude. But I remember like being in tears over this. I was talking to someone, and it wasn't necessarily because this dude was dead, even though that sucked. But I remember just being so upset because I wanted more for him than he wanted for himself. And then I realized how much that happens across the scale. Like, that's most people.
Yeah. It is most people, man.
And that's just, it's sad.
Nobody should want more for you than you. And nobody should hold you to a higher standard than you should yourself.
Yeah.
Period, man.
That's really what it boils down to.
I mean, and I know you're listening to this right now and you're realizing that that's probably not the case for you, but I'm here to tell you that it's not too late, man.
No, it's never too late. I don't care if you're 70 years old.
Yeah. Colonel Sanders started KFC in his 70s, I think.
There you go.
Fuck it, there you go.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I mean, what a gift to the world.
I think it's a good place to wrap this up with old KFC.
Yeah, shit, man. We went on all kinds of...
this is the longest podcast we've done, I think.
Really?
It's an hour and 25 minutes.
We've done longer ones on my show.
Oh, yeah. Yours, we go on for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, which is Free Mind Podcast, by the way.
I was about to do that. I'm glad you went ahead.
Well, we started with like... You know, what Dave had bars and sold them, but then we didn't talk about anything I do now.
Yeah,
so.
and I was really trying to tackle that right out of the gate, like what's everything that Dave has done.
Because once we get started,
we didn't even scratch the surface though either. Because
that's okay.
I was gonna be like, I had this whole list of shit I was gonna bring up.
Don't worry about it.
And we didn't even do it. Well, round 2, right?
That's right.
Round 2.
Husband, father, business owner, trying to be a value creator.
So where can people find your podcast?
Free Mind Podcast, everywhere podcasts are found. Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, whatever you use, we're everywhere. At the Free Mind Podcast on Instagram or at I am Dave Hurt on Instagram.
That's if you're not, banned.
If I'm not banned at the time, I get a little spicy. But yeah, you can find me on pretty much every platform at I am Dave Hurt, Twitter, Instagram, all that shit.
And for those of you that were listening in the beginning, which if you're at the end of this and you listen to it. Anyways, this is why we're wrapping this up, because my fucking brain is done. But either way, I have recorded 3 to 4 podcasts on Dave's. Mm-hmm. Always a great time, always amazing conversations. One of them, we were tripping mushrooms in a cabin.
Yeah.
I will never listen to that, but I've heard it's interesting. So
I've listened to it. It was good, man.
It was interesting.
A good conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, either way, Free Mind Podcast.
Yep.
I am Dave Hurt, right?
Yep. Just Work Co. if you want any of our shirts or whatever. But,
there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate you, bud.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Norse Mentality. This podcast is a byproduct of Norse Fitness. We make clothing, fitness accessories, supplements, and other tools to help you reach your true potential. You can check it out at norsefitness.co. And if you found this episode beneficial, please share it with a friend. That way we can continue to make a bigger impact and change the world. Thank you for your support, and we'll talk to you soon.